we started this podcast as just kind of like
Just for fun.
just for fun, and
Yeah.
it's so crazy to see like where it's gone. And let's be honest, we're not there yet. All right, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're not quite there yet, and we're still at the beginning stages of everything. But we thank all you guys. You guys are real supporters. So much
Can you
love
guys
to
hear
all
okay?
you guys.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Oh.
Is yours?
Check.
Yeah, you guys-
Okay. Sorry, we're used to speaking into these mics and not these ones. And so
Yeah,
it's a little bit different. So bear with us.
Dual recording here,
Yes.
on here and here.
Yes.
Should we just kick it off? Have a seat and
Yeah, let's do it.
roll
But
it
yeah.
like we organically
Yes.
always do.
Yeah. Like I said, thank you guys for coming. I hope you don't have too much expectations for us because we're not the best speakers. We're not
we're
going to
just
move
here doing it for
anybody to
fun.
tears, or we're not going to have like you guys kicking over in your seats laughing or anything like that. We're just kind of two regular dudes just shooting the shit most of the time. And most of our podcasts are heavily edited. And you'll see why today.
Yeah. So I think we had a pretty easy format for us. It was just going to be about an hour of just talking. We just want to tell you guys about a little bit about who we are, why we started this podcast, because we do have a big reason as to why we started the podcast. We actually talked about it for maybe a year or two prior.
Yeah,
It just
about
took
2-3
long enough
years
to
we've
buy,
been chatting
we just
online.
had to buy this.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
have never had the equipment. But we've been chatting about doing a podcast, and there's been a need in the community for a podcast like this where we can come on and kind of talk about, because we're 30-year-old men. I mean, we're not like young guys. Most Hmong podcasters are like cool young 20-year-olds like drinking beers and like having a good time on a Friday night.
I mean, I can still do that, but you're a family man.
Yeah, that's tough
You're a
for me.
family guy.
That's tough for me.
I'm married with
that's
no
tough
kids.
for me. Drinking the beers, but I enjoy that maybe too much.
So Peng, just let's start this podcast out by just introducing. Let me hear about like who you are. What's your story? Where you come from, and where you are now.
Yeah. So like Tu said, my name is Peng Her. Let's see. About 2-3 years ago, I left my career to start a farm, a regenerative agricultural farm. So we have gorilla pastures out in Oak Grove, Minnesota, where we keep laying hens, milking goats, ducks, and geese, and then most importantly, honeybees. And so from that, we sell honey, we make lip balm, we make beauty and skin products out of the beeswax. And so we're slowly starting to get a buzz, but as a new business owner, new farmer, it's been really essential, and it's been really I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to have met and partner up with you, just because you're a little bit further along in your business in your journey, and so it's been fun.
And what's your background? Because you're a beekeeper today. You are a farm guy, a father, but before that, you were trying to be. What was your degree in? Because you went to college, got your 4-year degree. What was your degree in? What job did you do after that?
Yeah.
And why did you leave that?
So I went to. I graduated from Hamlin University with a degree in exercise sports science. It's not that great, guys. It's just a fancy way of saying gym. I graduated in gym. I got a degree in gym.
If you look up Peng Tao Her on Google, you might still find pictures of him in his underwear.
Yeah. So yes. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna keep my clothes on today. But I used to compete in competitive bodybuilding, and that's kind of where I kind of got my start, and that's actually how I met you.
That's how we met, yeah.
Was through bodybuilding, through working out.
You were actually, I remember hitting you up because actually I wanted training before I got into the fire academy.
Yep.
And so I hit you up for some training.
Yeah, and so we met up. I remember linking up with you at I think like the Highland Lifetime Fitness or something.
I think it was
like
Los Campeones.
Okay. Shout out to them.
Yep, the old gym. Yeah.
But how about you, man? Like you've been, you talked a little bit about getting into firefighting. And now, like, I have already kind of mentioned that you've started your business a little while back ago, and you're a little bit further along in your journey. Tell me a little bit about you.
Yes.
Tell us about you.
Yeah. So So for me, I was first of all, like a lot of us that are here, just a Hmong kid that grew up, and my parents raised me. I was born and raised in just south of Paris, France. So the first 10 years of my life were actually all in France. So when I first came to St. Paul, it was a big culture shock for me. I've never been around so many Hmong people in my life before. I'd never seen anybody do Wanang, all that stuff. I had never seen that before I moved here. I went to high school. I was not your greatest student, skip a lot of school, get kicked out of high school, 1.4 GPA, represent 1.4 GPA, kicked out, went to the Marine Corps right away. I didn't grow up thinking like, oh, I want to be a Marine. It was kind of just one of those things where I walked into a recruiting office, guy did his job, sold me on the idea. And I did the Marine Corps for 6 years till I was about 24. And then as soon as I got out of the Marine Corps, so I went into the Marine Corps to be a firefighter. That was actually the job that I did there. And came out of that, and then I got really lucky, landed a job, my dream job at the time, and got a job with St. Paul Fire. So I did 9 years on St. Paul Fire.
And the first Hmong firefighter in St. Paul.
Yeah, and we got 5 now, so.
Round of applause for that. I mean, that's a real accomplishment, and we're starting to see a lot more young Hmong firefighters now too.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I would like to say like you led the way.
I wouldn't say that I paved the way, but I think that anywhere you can open doors for somebody else to look at you and say that you can do that too, like that's how I got inspired to do anything. And you hope that you can pass that forward for the younger generation to be like, hey, we don't got to be 6'3", we don't got to be 280 pounds. We still got brains and we still got effort. We still got heart. So we can still do these things that people don't think that we might do someday.
Right, and then similar to that, this podcast. We started this podcast like just two guys with an idea and with some microphones.
Yeah, and speak on what was the original intent when we started this podcast? Because we had talked about like, hey, we should start a podcast because of this reason. So like, tell us what was the original reason why this podcast truly got started. Like where we thought that there was a hole missing and we wanted to kind of fill that void.
The truth is, I'm just an extreme narcissist, and I wanted the world to I wanted to put on record.
Attention.
Yeah, I wanted to put on record like my thoughts and everything else that was going on in my mind. No, but like we realized we wanted to talk about Hmong men's health.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why it's kind of caught some traction was just because there was a lane for this, and I think there hasn't been anybody talking about specifically Hmong men's health. Like I joked a little bit earlier about like most podcasts, especially in the Southeast Asian or Asian community, done by Hmong or by Asian men are. They're like cool guys talking about hitting on girls and yada yada. And nothing wrong with that, but I think we have like a different formula where we kind of come in as 30-year-old married men who both own our own businesses. We're just trying to figure out
how life works, right?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
which is why I think the podcast has a little bit of success behind it, is because everybody struggles in life, like on a daily basis. Some days are hot, some days suck. But we all share that common thing. And for Hmong men, it seems like when we were raised, it's always like be tough, be tough, be tough, because our parents come from like different backgrounds where they fled war. And our thing that we always talk about is that we have problems too. They're not fleeing war, but there's still things that like we need to cope with, learn how to deal with, and like how do we overcome those things. And so we wanted to talk about that because that's never really seems to be talked about.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like, everyone assumes you should just figure it out, as if like you became 30 and now you're just built for this stuff.
Because I always thought as a teenager that when I turned 18, I was just gonna figure this X, Y, and Z out. When I turned 20, when I graduated from college, I was just gonna have X, Y, and Z figured out. And then I realized when I turned 30, I don't know anything.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure it out.
And you went to college thinking that was going to be the path, and at the end of the day, you still left your career in the corporate world.
Oh, 100%.
Like you said in the podcast before, you had that corner office with that window view, and so you were like kind of where some people would just call that a day, right? Like, hey, we're good, we made it here.
I mean, truthfully, like in a weird way, I guess you can say like I did it. I did what I wanted to do, and I did what I set out to do, was to graduate college, to find a career, work in a position, or have some kind of leadership position.
Wait, are you a fan of college these days, or what's your stance on college?
You know what, man? I think you know what? As much as if you guys have listened to the podcast, which I hope you guys have, you guys are here
I hope
because you
you're
guys are fans. But I shit on podcasts a lot, but I'm able to do that because because I went to college. I went to college and I had all these doors open for me, and still some of my biggest supporters were like people that I met in colleges, and so I shit on it a lot, but truthfully, like it opened so many doors for me, and I can say that now because I went that route, and I meet so many other people that didn't go that route, and there's a feeling of being trapped in whatever career field that they're in, where they don't have the ability to just like up and leave. Whereas like for me, it's like because I have a degree. I have X, Y, and Z work history. Like I can up and go. So, but to answer your question, man, you don't need it. You don't need it. There's so many different
Depends
avenues.
what field you're going. Yeah, like I went to school. I got 99 credits. I felt probably like, man, I probably withdrew out of 10 classes.
Yeah.
And felt like 5.
I think that's why this
Probably
podcast
more.
like works too. It's like you had such a crazy experience in high school, like totally different than myself.
Yeah.
Like I was,
'cause you
I
were-
wasn't a great student, but like I played sports. I was like super involved.
Right.
Some of you guys I went to high school with, like I knew like most of the people that I went to high school with, like I had a lot of friends and I had a great social network.
Right.
I had great relationships with my teachers, like some that I still talk to this day.
Versus I always talk about how much I hated my teachers and how much I didn't like school
And so hearing your story was crazy
Yeah.
because you're like crazy successful now. You're
Right,
crazy successful now. I can say that. You earned that. You worked hard enough where you earned that. So just take it in. But like I don't. I went maybe the more traditional route, but I've discovered that wasn't for me. And it's really cool to have met you, and I'm so grateful. I was just talking to somebody who I forgot who I was talking to, but I'm so grateful to have met you because, going that route, I thought that was what was going to lead me to success, right? I thought that was.
Well, hold
what
on. Let
was
me
drawn
stop you
out.
there. Define success for me, because I need to know what your definition of success means.
Yeah, well, like the success the definition of it has changed so much over in the past like 5 years. Because success when I was in the career field, graduating from college, was to graduate from college and work.
Like most
and to
of
find a career.
most of us, right? that
But
go to
yeah,
school.
yep, exactly. But now as a 32-year-old man, as a father, like success is totally different for me. I just want to.
Yeah, you get your
everything I'm doing now. I'm trying to spend more time.
You got your
with
two daughters with us. And your
Yes,
wife, huh?
exactly. Yeah, and so whatever I do, I try to include my kids with me. I bring my daughters out to, they're very involved with me on the farm. They're very involved with me. Anytime I go and do like a presentation, I bring my animals and I bring my bees to do like classroom sessions to schools. I make sure I bring my kids and make sure they're involved in all the aspects so that they know what's going on. But like success has changed for me so much, and I think my earlier thoughts of it was like, it wasn't even, it was given to me.
Yeah.
I'd follow this path of what I thought success was. But, like eventually I had to make a decision for myself to leave my career and do what was.
Let me ask you a
ultimately
question.
happy for me.
Are you glad that you left the corporate world to do what
100%.
you do today?
100%, man, 100%. But I would say this too, though. Like, I put my family through hell.
Yeah.
I put my family through hell. Like it's very romantic to stand up here and talk about how me leaving my career, making a decision for myself for once in my life, right? But man, I have kids now.
Yep.
If I drop the ball, like I put them in a bad situation. Leaving my career, right? As
Wait, how did your wife take that?
Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of discussions. We're in a great place now, and she's very understanding, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed because like if I didn't have her full support in it, I think I'd be in a totally different place, man.
Yeah.
Man. But enough about me, man, because if I keep yapping on, I'm done. I'm a
good.
cry
We
up
wanna
here.
hear your story,
But like,
yeah.
I'm just so grateful for the people in my life and then and my wife. But so you went to the military.
Yeah.
After the military, what happened?
After the military,
Straight to the firefighters?
Yep.
Or?
So I had about a 1 year break where I was just in college working a security job. I kind of worked all kinds of things, man. I think I had about a dozen jobs before I actually landed my firefighting gig. Got on the St. Paul
You were
Fire
a personal
Department.
trainer at some
I was
point.
a personal trainer
remember that,
at
yeah.
Bally's and Steel Fitness at one point. I sold cell phones. I worked security. I worked at Wendy's for 3 days tops.
Yeah.
I worked at Kohl's, and then they told me to get on the PA to ask for a supervisor, and I quit. So I wasn't the most serious kid. But when I got to the St. Paul Fire Department, which is ultimately where I wanted to land, I think that's where my life kind of changed. I had the ability to have a career that I really wanted. It's where I got tested the most. That job is not talked about enough. Most people just think that firefighters, we just go and put a fire out. That's what you think about for firefighting. With the city of St. Paul, we actually do much more than that. We're paramedics. I mean, we have the ability to get so far into the process that we can actually put tube in your neck. We even at one point were talking about having the ability to amputate people's limbs on the field, right? So it goes that far. Like, most people don't realize it. But what comes with that is that there's a lot of mental stress that comes with it that's not talked about a lot. And that's the thing where I like to talk about mental health, because I've been down that road where I was running my business, Yellow Auto Sports, running the business, being a fireman, and it's just a lot to take on. And not, it's my own fault, but I put myself in very busy fire stations, right? So I worked downtown St. Paul, I worked the East Side, which the East Side is a very busy place. And when you go through all that, you see all the things, right? And I don't want to scare anybody or make it sound too gory, but there's everything. I've seen people, I've picked up human beings out of a river that have been there for months. I've picked up people that have been hanging. I've seen all those things. And that's the reality of what it means to be a firefighter or a police officer or anybody that works in a frontline type of work. Nurses, doctors, all that, So after a while, you realize, like, hey, that kind of job really takes a toll on you, right? So you start to wonder and ask yourself, which is where the road which I came to was, money's not everything, but am I willing to keep seeing these dead bodies for the next 20 years of my life?
Right.
And so eventually I got to the point where, I started a business back in 2015. We do auto detailing, window tint, stuff like that. And I just got to the point where the business was kicking off pretty well.
Yeah.
And I got to a crossroad when I was last year, or about almost 2 years ago, when I was 33, where somebody asked me a really hard question, and it was, do you want to be a firefighter or do you want to be a business owner? Because you can't be both.
Right.
If you want to be successful, you can't be both.
And before we get too far into like you being a business owner, like I've always wanted to ask you, but I've never had the courage to ask you.
Ask it now.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we're in front of people. I've had a little bit of.
Gotcha.
I've had a little bit of liquid courage.
Liquid courage. Yeah.
But like, tell me about some of those stories, because like you always allude to it, but like I've never wanted to ask you about that. So tell me if you can, and whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Not telling no
what's
names.
What's like the wildest thing you've seen? Okay, tell me, like, what is the greatest, coolest thing you've seen on the job, and what is the saddest thing?
I think the coolest thing was always like going to elementary schools and just seeing like young kids who are like 4, 5, 6, and they were so excited when you opened the door to the fire truck, like, oh, let me touch this tool, and like just giving them like little fire badges, like a little sticker of a fire badge, right. And the kids would be so proud, like, oh my God, I got a real sticker from a fireman. Those things are like really, really fun. The stuff that sucked a little more was like, let me pick out just one that sticks out to my mind the most is probably when I was about 2 years on the job. We went to a call for a teenager who actually had hung himself underneath a bridge in the middle of like a Saturday afternoon. And calls like that, in the moment, you don't think about them very much, because in the moment, you're actually like in a work mode. You're really mission driven, right. So you don't think about it too much. And really, nothing really affected me for about a 6-7 year period. And then after that, I started to realize, like, well, these things are kind of heavy. The hardest thing is like coming home in the morning. I remember one time, we went to a call down on 35E in St. Paul. There was a guy who was heavily drugged up, cut his throat from one side to the other.
Yeah.
And I think we were just making dinner. And so we went to that call and dealt with all that, came back, finished dinner, which was cold by then.
Yeah.
We went and sorry about my dark humor, this is just the job that I did. And so we went back to dinner, and then we got a phone call right after that person was HIV positive. So we had to go back to regions and all do blood work. And you start to realize that, like, man, these calls are pretty serious. And the hardest part is, like, I'm married, I have a wife. I have to go back at 9 in the morning and just live my life as if, like, nothing's ever happened, right?
Yeah.
It's still in my head. And, like, your body will tend to be in shock for, like, at least 3 days. Like, for 3 days, your mind is, like, still filtering what you just saw. Yeah. But you don't let really, like I always told my wife, because I knew that venting is the right way. Like, you don't want to bottle those things up. But yeah, that's what it comes down to. So firefighting, you see a lot of crazy stuff like that, and that's why I left to be an entrepreneur full time.
And you mentioned pulling a body out the river.
Yeah.
That's been in there for a couple months.
So people tend to jump in the fall and they recover in the spring.
That is wild, man. I can't imagine ever doing anything like that. But how did you deal with that? Because, like, you obviously have to go home and have to assume, like, this normal life. Right. So, well,
and I was running a business at the time too, so I was overloading my plate.
Yeah. So how did you deal with that? What did you have any coping mechanisms? Were you just completely detached? Like, how can you detach from that?
I think,
right?
You stay really busy, that helps, but that's not a coping mechanism. That's just more like, hey, I don't want to think about this.
Right.
I think for me is I eventually, and this is where it goes back to why we started this podcast together, is eventually I did end up, going to see a therapist, mental health, talking it out, figuring it out, like, what is it, like, I had a therapist tell me once that, look, you're a firefighter and you're trying to be the best you can be at that. Excuse me. You're also a husband and you're trying to be good at that, and you're also a business owner and you're trying to be good at that. So the therapist basically said, look at it as just one bar of energy. You're using 30% firefighting, 30% business owner, and then whatever's left is what you bring home. And so whatever you bring back to your wife...
Shout out to the wives. Shout out to the wives. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so... it just, the therapist really helped me. It just helps you, like, filter your thoughts. And so for me, it was really helpful to just have a therapist to talk to. And it's not something I use every day. I don't really use it. I don't really have a therapist that I go see anymore. But at the time, it was really helpful. And it brings us back to the podcast as to why we started it, is because we know that life is, it's a struggle. It's a fight.
100%. And, like, I think you need, I think some people are very fortunate where they have good circles and they have people that they can count on. But, like, you realize, too, like, as you get older, too, like, there's, as everybody gets busier and busier with their lives, like, some of the people that you grew up and people that you were able to vent to, like, you don't always have those people anymore. And so, and then even when you had them, like, they weren't always the best person to kind of bounce ideas off of. So, like, that's why having a professional like, is super important, right? By way of, like, a therapist or a life coach or something else going on. So, like, I think, just since we started the podcast, like, I've started seeing a therapist too, and it's been, my wife's, she's been pushing, me to see one for the past, like, couple years now. And I honestly was like, all right, fine. Since I'm starting this podcast, I guess therapy is content for this podcast. So I guess I'll go.
Thinking like a content creator.
Yeah. I was like, that's truthfully why I went to. I was just like, this is content.
Yeah, we need something to talk
I also
about.
did it for you, baby.
Yeah.
But, like, and then at the end of the day, like, I started going, I started attending, and in the beginning. Because here's the thing about therapy, right? Like, you can essentially you can kind of persuade the therapist to kind of say what you want to hear, by telling them. But as they get to know you more and more, and as the sessions get a little bit deeper and deeper, like we get to have more and more conversations. Like I've realized like how instrumental like my wife has been to like me doing all this. I always say like in the past 10 years, like I've started 10 different businesses, and shout out to everybody in the crowd because like, a lot of these guys here today, they've been at every one of my crazy startups, right? And they've been there for like everything that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a menswear blogger at some point. And like some of the people in the audience were there for that launch, and they're here today. And so shout out to them. I also want to give myself credit because I didn't put any one of you guys through a pyramid scheme at all. So
if you want to do that, you got to start selling life insurance.
I definitely could have. I definitely could have. And with the friends that I have, like you guys would have definitely bought life insurance for me. So shout out to all the homies out there. Like you guys have been great, super supportive. Sitting right there, them too. My wife over there. So shout out to you guys. But what was I saying?
Yeah. So I mean, that a lot of what we talked about here was a big reason as to why we started No Eggs Podcast, right?
Yeah.
No Eggs Podcast was started for the idea that we wanted to talk about men's health. And then eventually we figured out that sometimes you bring guests in, that helps you. And so then we invited more guests, and really we've diversified the amount of guests that we've had. And a lot of the people that are here in this crowd are people that were guests on our show. With all kinds of different backgrounds, right?
100%. Like
should we start naming
Yes.
everybody that came to our podcast?
Yeah, so Alan, Sophia, I'm just going to go down the road. James, Shang, let's see who, Danny. Why don't you guys stand up so everybody can see you guys? Because truthfully, like, we have the little bit of, we couldn't have done this without you guys. And everybody that's came out and did the podcast, stand up, please. Because and give them a round of applause because these people were so instrumental to allow us to get to where we are today.
Yeah.
And so shout out to you guys. Stand up, Danny.
And the best part about all of our guests is they all have such a different, unique story.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to highlight too is our podcast really does focus on a lot of the Southeast Asian, naturally a little bit, very Hmong community. But it's just to show that like everybody's got their own path, and we always make a point to talk about their struggles because, selfishly, I'm always trying to learn how they cope with things in their life. But like everybody's successful in their own way, and at the same time feels stress in their own way.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to be able to share that openly. And we know that podcasting can be a little bit intimidating, and you can get criticized for the things that you say, or you can be judged for some of the opinions that you have, but like I like to say, you're gonna get judged no matter what you do anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so shout out to all the guests. Like what I realized was we talked about this at the beginning of our podcast was I didn't want this to be really guest driven, and I wanted this to be just kind of us. Unfortunately, again, I'm a narcissist. I'm sorry. Whatever. I just want to talk. I don't care about other people. But like what I realized as I'm doing this is that there's so many great stories that go uncovered. There's so many great stories, and all like the peers and the people all around you have so many great and amazing stories that like everyone is just dying to hear, and and all of our guests were just dying to tell. But essentially, like there wasn't a place for them to do that. And then even though this didn't start as a place for that, like our podcast didn't originally plan out for that. Like we didn't originally plan to do that. Like I think we're slowly becoming like a home for where maybe some of these more unheard stories.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for us too is like we had established very early on, like let's not be critical and let's not be judgmental of everybody's journey. Because that's easy to do, right? It's always easier to be a judgmental person, to just look at somebody and talk shit about it. That's that's the simplest thing you can do.
Yeah,
but to actually sit down
even
and
like
listen.
our stories, like people can be very critical of our stories, and people can shit on us and so then when we brought guests on, like we wanted to make sure we gave them a platform where they can kind of talk about themselves, talk about their journey, and then we can bounce ideas off of that.
Yeah, and so like our guests, I'm just gonna name some of the things. We've had, Pa, who's a very successful photographer. We had Sophia, who's very successful in doing what she does with the makeup stuff and Instagram. We got Chef
Alan,
Ya, who opened the
Yeah.
shop for us, and James, who's behind the camera over
Yeah.
here. You know, it's everybody's doing their own thing, and we're all kind of around that same age group too. You know, we're
Yeah.
like those millennial type, you know, around there, all graduated high school, maybe like 2000 and 2010 in
Right.
that range. So
Yeah, and there's just thousands of stories out there that are just amazing that could be turned into books and movies, and we're just fortunate to be able to tap into some of those for our podcast, and we want to continue to be a platform for
Yeah.
where people could come on and maybe tell their story.
yeah, and let me ask you now that we've done the podcast together, now it's my time to put you on the spot. We've done the podcast together for about a year. Talk about how fun that's been, but also how much of a headache I am.
Oh, you want to know about what a headache? Oh, what a headache too is? Just ask his employees. Ask James. Where you at, James? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, man. I love working with Tu. There was a point where I was like, Tu, I begged him to continue to do this. I was like, come on, Tu, this is working. But I love working with you, man. And again, I'm privileged to work with you because you're a lot further along in your journey.
Yeah.
And so for me to be able to come in and pick your brains a little bit has been huge.
And what do I always say? Stop thinking about the podcast. Think about your business, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And that's our dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like he gives me a lot of great business advice, and then for me, this podcast eventually is just a big advertisement for my farm. Sorry, guys.
If you haven't seen
Sorry, guys. Truthfully, if this podcast doesn't take off, it doesn't matter.
if you don't see half of our reels has a guerrilla pasture advertisement.
Oh yeah,
underneath it.
100%. Hey, there's one thing I learned about podcasting is there needs to be an ask at the end. Either you ask them to follow, or you ask them to buy one of your products. And I'm using this opportunity to sell my product.
Yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, the podcast don't pay my bills, don't put food in my pocket, don't put food in my kids' mouth. So I'm gonna use this opportunity to sell some products.
Yeah, no, but it's good.
Speaking of which, GorillaPastures.com. Check it out. www.gurillapastures.com.
And I think you brought a bunch of little baggies for everybody up there, didn't you?
100%.
Was it honey, or would you bring?
Yeah,
some?
so we did bring gift baggies too. And so make sure on your way out, make sure you grab one of those. We brought some honey and some lip balm products that we make on the farm. And then we also, my sister, who I love and who is like an inspiration for me, who is a freaking grinder, also brought in some products for us, some hand sanitizers and some
Something.
yes, for you guys. So make sure you guys grab one on the way out. Again,
And I didn't bring nothing 'cause I'm a cheap ass.
You know, this podcast. Well, you doing all right. You doing all right.
I forgot.
No, I'm
Honestly,
just
I had a
kidding.
bunch of things that I was supposed to bring.
Yeah, this podcast, even though it's great, and we love the work that we do. We don't get paid for this. That's the
No,
reality of
that's the
of
reality.
this.
We don't
we're
get
just,
paid for
we're
it.
We're here, dinking around. We spend hours every night putting out clips. We spend hours every week linking up whenever we can to
because I
shoot
think
content.
we're booked out with guests for the rest of the year.
Yeah, which is
We
crazy.
got a
The
couple
fact that
guests.
people
We got
want to
probably
do
like
our
5 more shows.
Yeah.
And we get some interesting people coming up next. You know, I think one of our next one is going to be a bunch of the Hmong Ironman athletes and
We have
endurance
a
runners.
collegiate wrestler. We have
Division
Chinu
One.
Her, who was he's a newscaster from
in
Iowa.
Yeah.
Let's see, Yang Mua, who is starting his hunting vlog
Oh, right.
and his hunting page, and
Yeah.
so we're super blessed. The fact that even people want to come on and do our podcast, we're super blessed. We're
I think it's
super
also
grateful
like
for it.
having natural curiosity. We're pretty curious about just knowing, not having too big a head to be like, oh, I'm not gonna learn nothing here. A piece of it is content creation, but a piece of it is also just organically wanting to know, hey, what do you do? How'd you get here? And what's worked for you and what hasn't. So, but we've always talked about it. Selfishly, we always want to learn something for ourselves too.
Yeah, that's the best part. Like I said, I get to pick your brains, and we had Chef Yeah on for me to come on and kind of pick his brains, get understanding of how he got his start. Like that was huge. How about shout out Chef Yeah for even letting us come on and providing us space for us to do this.
He's still busy working.
Yeah, look at this guy. This guy is nonstop working.
Yeah, thanks for letting us come here, sir.
Yeah. And, he's always doing great things in the community. He's always working really hard to put us on and shed a positive light.
Well, we always say, the internet's a brutal place, man. People want to say, talk shit. No matter what you do, people are going to put you down for something. But at the end of the day, the way I always looked at it for Chef Ya is, when you're putting Hmong people on the map, you're doing something that other people are not doing. I'm not saying that everybody has to try to be that and, lead the way. But, this generation, our parents, that's going to go away, eventually. And then it'll be us, and then it'll be the kids after us. Right. And the kids after us need to have examples as to how to make it work in this country, right? We don't live in Laos. We don't live in Thailand. We live in America where your exposure sometimes helps you get further ahead in life. And further ahead in life is subjective for everybody. Everybody's got a definition of what it means to get ahead. For me, I'm not gonna lie. Financially, it's always important. Why? Because it's an expensive country to live in. Yeah. I mean, I took an ambulance last year from the State Fair to the Regents Hospital, and it's $1,400 for 6 miles. Ooh. So and that's with insurance. So financially, we always want to be a little bit secured. But I think knowing your why, knowing the reason as to why you're doing things is a big thing, right? Like money won't buy you friends. Money won't buy you love. Money won't buy you a happy wife. Like money won't do all those things, but what it can do is it can at least just buy you, shelter, food,
little piece of mind.
Little piece of mind.
But yeah, so thank you to all of our guests. Thank you, Chef Yeah, for hosting us. I can't believe we forgot to mention that early on, so I'm sorry. But please don't be too upset at us. But we're just super blessed because this is an opportunity for us to kind of talk a little bit more about how we feel and some of the challenges. I think one of the recurring themes of our podcast is you're from the outside, you're killing it, I'm killing it. Yellow Auto Sports, if you guys don't know already.
You tend to kill it better when you...
If you don't know, Tu owns Yellow Auto Sport, one of the best... sorry, I'm going to give you a plug here.
Oh, thanks.
Car detailing shop located in Little Canada. So make sure you guys reach out to them. If you guys love and care about your cars, make sure you guys hit them up.
And I'll tell everybody the same thing I tell everybody else. I ain't the cheapest in town, but if you want quality work, that's where you come.
Hey, you got to pay if you want the best. But from the outside looking in, everybody thinks we're doing well. Everybody thinks we're looking in. Or everybody thinks perspective-wise,
the picture that we paint, right, is not the same as what we feel.
Because that is important in social media. Because in social media, we're constantly projecting this thing that is constantly better than what it really is sometimes.
Like most people do, I think.
And the reality is man, it's a grind. It's a grind to
But I will say that being your own business owner comes with certain things like your freedom of time, which does not equate value. But this morning I went to work at 9 a.m. My cousin hit me up and said I got a deer, and I left at 9:30.
Yeah.
So
I'm not there yet. Again, he's 7 years in. I'm only 2 years in. That is the goal. That's why I love chatting with you.
I didn't work all day today.
Yeah, that's why I love chatting with you.
We still made good money today, so it's good.
Because that is a goal for me. That is a goal for me. One day I hope 7 years in I can dink around with my animals for 30 minutes and call it a day and just play with my kids all day. So it's really cool, man. It's really inspiring. And then to bring on guests to come in and talk about their experiences dealing with some similar issues has been great.
And I think one thing that we found out too is everybody's perception of success, or you see somebody else and you think they're successful, but when you really get to talk to somebody and you just talk about life and not careers, you start to see that everybody kind of just goes through the same thing, right? Everybody has struggles. Everybody, I always say, my biggest dilemma now is as I get older, is my business is starting to do better. Is for me at least, how I try to stay humble is I try to understand that you might be successful. You might turn 40, 50, and you might be a millionaire, but what happens along the way, you get older, you lose your parents. So, you know, when we talk about success, to me, it's I think balance, first of all, is having a good amount of balance, not driving yourself nuts, which is hard to do sometimes.
Yep.
But it's like you get older, you make more money, you're a little bit more financially stable, and you have a little bit more pride. People might know who you are, what you've done, and all those things are really, they're nice for your ego, but your ego is not the most important thing. You know, your parents still go away, people you know still go away. So it's like, where is what I'm trying to figure out now in my life is like, where's where do I find my own happiness? Because, you know, financial success is cool. Like, you're always happy about that. But when your parents go away, it doesn't, let me live in an apartment again and keep my parents forever. I'll take that out.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Or to not have to pay rent. What I would give for that, right? We were just talking to, shout out Kai. Where's Kai at? Shout out Kai. Like, he was a recent guest that we had on, a 23-year-old man. And so we were really, like, honored to bring him on, right? Because, you know, we're 30-year-old guys here. We're kind of out of touch with what's going on. And to bring somebody from his generation to come on and kind of speak about what's going on with him and what's going on with young people, I think that was huge. And I think we want to continue to do stuff like that. We want to bring somebody on that's been like maybe somebody from a generation previous to us.
Yeah.
Where we can have.
We got to bring somebody else from the generation above.
Yeah, exactly.
And just hope that they don't shit on us the entire time.
Yeah. Oh, you know, if they do, that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's expected.
It'll be a true depiction of their character then.
Yeah. But hopefully, like, so shout out to Kai and shout out Empower Yang. He reached out to us like maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and you know, he wanted to do some work with the podcast, and we told him we were just we were 100% honest with them that we told him we couldn't pay. Yeah, we can't pay you. We're not making any money. So we told him that we just gave him the blessing to just like pull clips, make content out of our videos, create his own page so he can own his own content.
Yeah, and like we talked with him,
we'll push his stuff.
Yeah, it's about the build up, right? Like everybody here, it's a community. That's the way we look at it. Everybody's like, we're just here to help each other, and that's what we want to really have with ourselves, is just like help each other, because the Hmong community, for one, is decent size, but it's not large. And the more support you can have, what I'm learning in business now after 9 years is your network is everything. I'm not saying that your network is going to be your best friend. Those people are not always going to be people that you might not even love and have the same value as them, but there is a side where it is networking and having people within your circle that can assist you.
Right.
Of course, it's your choice how much you want to friend each person, and I think that's the hard line about having a business as well. Sometimes you can lose the line of like what's business, what's not. So it demands that you set very strict boundaries on yourself.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it is a circle of friends. It is a circle of people that I can bounce off. I think what we learned is that the more we talk about our weaknesses and our things that we have a hard time with, it's like I was just telling my mom not that long ago, because she was like, "Why are you telling the world your stories?" And it's like, well, every time I do, what happens is I actually get people with similar experience come back and feedback. Give me feedback, and then I'm able to filter my thoughts back and forth with those people that are going through the same things in life.
Right.
So the network is that, it's not just making money; it's also having people within that might have the same struggle. With Sophia, with her, it was like she's got a big following, and it's like, oh man, how did you get there? Like, so it's like picking each other's brains with the intention of making everybody.
And then like gaining that knowledge and then being able to pass that on. I think you do that really well at Yellow. Like I think you help teach other young people how to create a business. You help teach other people like the game of like car detailing. I think that's like really inspiring. And that's kind of something we hope to do with Kai, was like, hey, look, we don't really know what we're doing, but as we grow, like, why don't you just come along this journey and we'll try to teach you a little bit about what we know. But too, man. Yeah, enough about this boring stuff, man.
Yeah.
Hey, now that we have a voice in the community, now that we're like famous Hmong people. We're Hmong famous.
You're famous?
We can just say it. We can say it. We're Hmong famous.
I don't know
now
about
that.
that.
It's time we
I don't
start.
wanna be famous,
we
bro.
start making some changes in the community, right? Could we just say that, this whole shaking everybody's hand at a party, that's got to stop, right? I shake 10 people's hands, and I'm gonna call it good.
What, you're COVID paranoid or something?
No. I just hate going, I don't want to go to a funeral and spend the first 30 minutes shaking everybody's hands, right?
But
I
you're
don't.
Hmong, dude.
It don't matter. We're going to make it a thing moving forward. You shake 10 people's hand, you're good.
Yeah, okay.
You're good. That's the rule moving forward. Look.
Chef Yaz got hand sanitizer right there, bro.
I'm gonna run you through a scenario, all right? All right, you go to a party.
Yeah.
There's a 60-foot couch there, all full of dudes, right? You start shaking everybody's hands,
Are you
right?
dude paranoid?
No. I'm just saying, we got, this has to stop. I don't want to shake everybody's hand. It's a lot of work. I don't want to spend the first 30 minutes shaking everybody's hand. All right, but I'm gonna run you through a scenario. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, okay? All right, so you go through the first 10 people. You shake all their hands.
Yeah.
All right. You see your roommate. You shaking his hand. You just saw your roommate 10 minutes ago. You guys left the same house. You drove different cars. Ended up at the same party. You shaking his hand?
I mean, yeah. If I'm already in the process of shaking people's hands,
but I'm just saying,
keep going,
why
bro.
though? I'm just saying why, and I just want to put an end to that. And I want to use my power, my privilege, my platform to go, hey, I don't want to shake any more of your hands. I want to cut it off at 10, and we're good.
Okay, so you're COVID paranoid.
Not even COVID.
I got you.
I live north of Highway 10. I don't believe in COVID. Anyways, yeah. No, okay, so moving on. Moving on. So you shake your roommate's hand,
Yeah.
right? You shake another 10 people's hand, right? Just to put it in context, guys, it's polite as a Hmong man when you enter a room, a house, a party, to go and shake every other Hmong man's hand, right? That's a polite thing to do, right? So that in context, you go down another 10 people. You see a girl. You gonna shake her hand? You just shook the last 20 people's hands.
What's wrong with shaking 20 people's hand and then shaking a girl's hand?
I'm not
you
saying
saying their hands are
there's
dirty?
anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that I don't even want to have to think about this. So the fact that I have to think about this is it's frustrating to me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, two. So you shaking the girl's hand?
I'm shaking everybody's hands, man.
Yeah, you're a good man, dude.
I'll just-
So you're gonna spend the first 30 minutes
I've learned
of
that
every event shaking the hand, and then once you leave, you're gonna go back and shake everybody's hands.
No, you can
as
sneak
you
out.
leave.
You can sneak out. I do that all the time.
Well, I'm just saying, what are the rules though? What are the rules? Because
I think with us,
in the case of my roommate, I just saw you. I don't
Yeah.
need to shake your hand. If I see my brother, I live with you. I love you. You know I love you.
I think with us, our generation, we're starting to bend the rules a little bit, where we're doing things our way.
Yeah. So could we just stop it at 10?
Yeah.
No rule going
Go
forward.
ahead.
By the power vested in me, but with the No Eggs podcast,
All right.
10 people
10 handshakes
maximum.
is what it is. So choose your
Moving on.
handshakes wisely.
Moving on, because this is. He gets it.
Yeah.
Thank you. The only white person in the room gets it because he's tired of shaking your hand too.
Yeah. That's my brother-in-law, man. He's married to my sister, man. He knows what the Hmong world's all about.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the Ukrainian world probably drinks more than us. I'll say that much.
Yeah. You shaking everybody's hand? Yeah. You have to. But don't you want it to?
The Hmong community is way bigger than the Ukrainian community, so
Yeah.
I feel you.
Don't you wish it would stop at 10 though?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna shake. All right, fine. You're fine.
All right.
I tried, guys. I tried giving us a little bit of a break. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, so we're coming up on this hour, and we wanted to keep the podcast
Yeah.
short and sweet. The shortcast. That's what we should
Yeah.
start calling reels that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we wanted to keep it short and sweet. And it was really just an introduction to put No Eggs out there, to who we are, what we're trying to do. And I think after this, we wanted to open it up. Unless you have anything else you want to share, we wanted to
No,
open it
man.
up to.
My bit didn't work, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Monday night.
I thought I
It's
would
not
have the
even 8
whole crowd
o'clock.
with me
Not
on
even
that,
8
but I
o'clock.
guess I'm the only person that doesn't want to.
It's okay.
Whatever.
Mental health.
Whatever.
It's a real thing.
Whatever. I'll talk to my therapist about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just wanted to open it up now. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, discussion, anything. Here, we'll use one mic here and we'll pass that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Give me anything.
So thank you both so much. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you both so much for doing this. This has actually been really fun. I feel like I've gotten to know you both
Tell us your name
very
and.
well. My name is Shang. I live with Laura. But what are your goals for 2024? Whether it's your podcast or your business, can you just let us know a little bit about yours?
What are yours?
Personally, like I said, I just want to sell more lip balms. I want to sell more honey. I want to sell more lip balm. I want to make some money on my actual business. Not that this isn't my business, or like I still treat this with as much love as I do anything else. But my goal for 2024 is just to buy more time with my kids. You know, I started this whole journey, the farm, this podcast, as like a way for me to, as one, it's a creative outlet for me, and then two, like hopefully to build something that I can, one, pass down to my kids, and that can also buy me more time with them. You know, my daughter just turned, one of them turned 5, the other one turned 2. So the 5-year-old is getting ready to go to school. I would love to be able to spend as much time with her before she attends school, or or as much time with her before she stops wanting to give me hugs anymore. So that's my goal for 2024.
2024. So some of the guys that work with me that are here. So James is my pretty much full-time videographer at the shop. Matt behind the camera is also somebody that's helped me lately. My goal when it comes to business is we're gonna tear shit up. That's all there is to it. I have no other option. But I left a nice job. I left a comfortable job. I left a job that had all the benefits in the world, that had a nice title attached to it, first Falling St. Paul fireman. So to leave all those things behind, my goal now is I need to figure out how to make this business work and how to make it so that I can tell my wife at the end of the day that this was not the bad choice. So that's as far as business. As far as No Eggs podcast is let's keep inviting guests. Let's just keep meeting more people. Let's keep spreading good vibes into the world, because the news is a terrible place to get any vibes. And then personally, in my own personal life, is as always, I love to travel. I want to travel. I want to take the wife out. I want to, hopefully have children someday. That's probably my biggest thing now at 35 years old. That's 2024 in a nutshell for me.
Well, you're always welcome to come take my kids for a day. Thank you, Shane, for that question, though. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Feel free to just pass the mic around.
Got one back there.
Beautiful man in the white. Yeah, beautiful man with the glasses in the white. Go ahead.
My name is Johnny. I'm going to do a shameless plug before I start. I also have a podcast. Check it out, Indecent Attitude. You should want to
Woo woo.
Woo-woo and the Gorilla Pastures. You go on right there right now. You get lip balm. 4 for 12. 4 for 12, right?
Look at that. Look at that.
This is a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it is.
And also the red, yellow sports, they have a $5 referral code, right? I remember that correct. So
Yep.
don't forget that too, y'all. Shameless plug. Catch that.
I'll send you a check after this. Don't. Yeah. Come and see me. I'll give you some cash.
You guys play 4 ways. But yeah, my question for you guys is, as you already know, this generation, we're all more kind of like in our heads and stuff like that. We're more kind of woke and stuff like that. So, if we have the freedom of speech and things like that, but during this generation and era, people are a little soft. So what are your thoughts and ideas about like getting canceled and such like that?
Yeah.
worried? You guys got a game plan, or what do you guys feel about that?
I'm not too worried about it. We know what we can't say in the pod. There's
Yeah.
episodes that we've deleted
And
already.
you got to keep in mind, we're not all, our podcasts are not live. So
Yeah.
we always go over with our guests and
Yeah.
ask them like, hey, do you want to watch this podcast one more time before I put it out into the universe? Because
Yeah.
if you say some shit that you're not happy with, we want to make sure we catch that first.
Yeah.
We understand that we want to give people exposure, but we don't want anybody to have that feeling of like, shit, I said something I shouldn't have said. And it's happened a few times on our podcast
Right.
where someone said a word that they didn't really want to be seen
Right.
as like, hey, this is how I talk. And so we just deleted those. But I think nowadays our generation is like is so aware now of like how, like you said, woke culture is, that I think most of us are pretty good at filtering. And I think that the people that are not able to create that filter, they probably wouldn't even come on the podcast in the first place most of the time. So we found that like most people were like, I mean, I don't think we've ever had a guest say, I want you to
nothing
delete
crazy.
something. I
Nothing
think
crazy.
once, but
Yeah. No, but you know, we're a podcast. I think we talk about we have tough conversations with our guests. We have tough conversations with each other. There's no easy conversation, especially surrounding the Hmong community. Every conversation is tough. So that and even if we say something that people don't agree with 100%, I hope people and the audience can appreciate some of the nuances in that. And like we know what lines we can and can't cross.
we're still
And
business owners.
Yeah,
We're still
and,
business owners.
And I think we were selective, and we chose to do a podcast
Yeah.
with each other because we
know
we
that,
have
yeah.
boundaries.
We have filters.
But yeah, like we're going to have tough conversations with guests. We're going to have tough conversations on the podcast, and we just hope that our audiences can appreciate the nuances in some of those conversations. And also too, like for podcast sake, like sometimes we don't always 100% agree with everything we're saying. Sometimes we are just picking a side for content space. I know one time on Danny's episode, we were having a conversation about what was it? About participation trophies.
Yeah.
And you were saying you don't believe in participation
I
trophies.
really don't though.
Yeah, and Danny was saying that she believes in rewarding the effort, but maybe not the participation. And I could have also just been like, hey, I also don't believe in participation trophies. End of discussions. But for content purposes,
Yeah.
I chose to ride hard the other way. And in that process, I think I changed my own mind, and I hope that I convinced. I don't know. It sounded like you. I don't know. But I was, at the end of the day.
You gotta work hard.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
Competition.
Essentially, I could have just agreed with them, and that could have been the end of the podcast. But we're going to take sides that we don't always agree
Yeah.
with, and and that's what that's what the beauty of the podcast is. We're gonna have discussions, and we're gonna not, and we want to have like a nuanced approach to all the topics that we talk about.
Yeah. For as much as we try to be 100% authentic, which ultimately authenticity is what people will grab onto, but we also understand that there's a content creation side to this where it does require you to have some talking points. Like the hot thing now is all reels, so we know that in we're like. I don't expect anybody to sit there and listen to me for an hour talk. Like, I think if you do that, you got way too much time on your hands. But if you listen to a reel, the reels kind of got to be catchy points. And that's what we're learning as, like, content creators is, like, there is a business side to it. Even though there's no money involved, there's got to be something catchy about it. And that's something that we take example from other people that have come on our podcast as well.
Cool. Thank you for the question, Johnny.
Thank you. Once again,
Meet me after the podcast.
Once again, shameless plug. Don't forget. No, just kidding.
Indecent podcast. I was a guest on it last week.
I'm not going to introduce myself. I don't need a plug. But, just kidding. My name is Hito. I'm just a friend of Tags.
Woo woo.
We actually have a two-part question. So the first part of the question is, I know that Tang has been wanting to do this like podcasting for a while. So he's been doing it for like a year, and I know you guys been grinding. You guys didn't have a lot of followers in the beginning. So first part of the question is, what made you guys keep doing it even though you guys were
I think for me, it was fun. It was fun in the beginning. It's still fun. We're still having a lot. Like, look at us now. Like, Chef Ye invited us out to his restaurant. We're doing a live show. I mean, we've got freaking 50 people in the audience. Not everybody showed up. But thank you to everyone that did. Like, that's the fact that we're doing this now is pretty crazy. Like, I was just talking to two, like, as everybody was rolling in, like, this is kind of mind-boggling. Like, it's crazy that this is actually happening.
And I think that Peng and I, when we started this, we didn't go into it thinking like, hey, let's figure out how to be huge. Like, that was never the thing. It was like, hey, let's just start something, be consistent, which is another thing that I grabbed from my own business, is just be consistent, don't slow down, keep grinding, because especially today, in today's day and time, like, all it takes is one reel to really get you going. Our guests help us always, because they have their own following too. But yeah, I think Ping and I always said, like, let's just have fun. Like, we're not getting paid for this, you know? Let's just have fun with it. But the one thing that we do have to do is we gotta keep grinding, and we can't just like let off. Because the minute you let off, well, in today's day and age, you'll get forgotten really quickly. So, and then as far as like our following actually growing, I don't know. There's just like one or two reels that kind of just kind of helps us. But yeah, I don't think we're really doing it for. I mean, following, like when you see it, it kind of like you do get a little bit of adrenaline behind it. Like, not gonna lie, but it's just for us to have fun and like be authentic and learn things out of it. That's the real reason I think why we started it.
Yeah.
And having a following helps. It motivates you some more to keep going. It gives you the ability to also draw other people that might not want to come on your podcast in the first place, but then they see what you have, and that allows you to have different conversations. And my goal, my personal goal is, I hope No Eggs gets so big that I can reach out to almost anybody I want out of my own selfish curiosity to talk to them, because everybody's sometimes looking for a little bit of shameless plug too. And so doing a podcast is an easy way to do that, you know, as content creators or as whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And again, this has been fun. I mean, who would have thought that in 6 months we'd have Chef Ye, like a world-renowned chef, on our podcast? Like, it's pretty mind-boggling. And so, you know, shout out Chef Ye. But like, also like, this we've learned so much, like just having different guests on, and for them to come on and kind of put us on game and tell us how to grow our podcast. That's been huge. Like, I think our motto has changed with every episode, because every guest that we've had on has showed us told us like a little bit more what we can do or how we can continue to improve our podcast. So then with every guest that we've had on, like, our podcast is getting better and better. You know, we're bringing in more people on our team, you know, with the addition of Kai coming to help us do reels. And so like, it's pretty crazy. Like, we definitely didn't start, or definitely didn't go into it with this mindset that it was going to be big or anything like that. I think we just wanted to have fun, and again, we just wanted a creative outlet. And so we're blessed to have been given this opportunity, because like, truly, like, it is given. It is given. You guys choose to follow. You guys choose to tune in to the podcast. You guys chose to be here tonight on a Monday night. So thank you guys. Like, we're so appreciative of all you guys.
Oh, of course.
Next question. Uh-oh.
You get the brother-in-law. That's a crazy question coming
Yeah,
up.
I'm gonna let you take this one.
Really easy question. Is the bar open? Can I buy the?
Somebody get this man a drink.
Can I buy some beers?
Yeah.
For everybody,
yeah.
right? Everybody, right?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can buy beers.
Ooh, nice.
What's your question?
Seriously, too. My question is such that I do remember you saying that you had started some kind of charity to help young Hmong youth go through some kind of education.
Yes. Yeah, so it's not Hmong Youth, but with Yellow, with my business, we did start a college fundraiser. It's a fundraiser so basically what we did is we started doing because I'm in the car world, so I have a shop that has a decent amount of parking space. I think we have almost close to 80 parking spaces. And so we were like, let's just throw some car shows together. Let's find a reason other than just bringing your nice car here. That's the simple thing, is bring your nice car, but let's also raise money. So, thanks again. And I know he's going to want to shake his head over there at me, but Chef Ya came out there and helped us cook, and
Gorilla Patches came out too.
Gorilla Pictures
Yeah.
came out there too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we were able to raise $2,000, and $2,000 is not a lot. I hope that one day I could do 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand. I mean, sky's the limit. But $2,000, I know that when you're 18, 19 years old, $2,000 is still a lot of money. And so, yeah, we're giving that out to Century College. We're doing that in the auto body program because it's kind of the most related to my business. I also did learn a lesson that when you want to give money to a college, it's not just, you don't just pick who you want to give it to. There's a huge filtering process that you almost lose all your say where your money goes. But that's the learning curve of donating money to a college.
If somebody like myself was not able to attend the wonderful dinner by Chef, where can I donate?
Who are you trying to donate to? To my cause?
Plug it, baby.
You need a tax write-off right now? If you just write it to Yellow Auto Sports, I'll make sure that it ends up in the students' hands.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
So did I tell you that I was thinking about going back to school?
Oh, are you?
I could use some help paying off some school loans.
Wrong program.
Honestly, like I think that's real inspirational. That's why I enjoy working with you so much. I think you're making such a huge effort to give back to the community. That's so huge. And I hope that 7 years into my business that I can do something similar.
Let me talk about that's financially, right? But what I've seen that you do, if you guys don't know, but you always bring kids to your little farm, or you bring your beehives to schools. And there's a certain educational part about that's really admirable as well. Is you're showing people how to live that self-sustaining life, which and because you're from North Minneapolis, bro. You're from the city.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. You're from the city, so for you to end up in North Minneapolis and now living a little bit further away, having a farm, the nice thing that you bring to the table is you can hold on to both philosophies. What does it mean to be a city kid? But what does it also mean to be a farmer? Oh, yeah. And so you're able to teach those city kids. A lot of times those city kids don't have the opportunity to actually go to a farm or do stuff like that. So that's really neat. I like watching that.
Yeah, 100%. Starting the farm, starting the podcast. One of the best things about this is that as we grow an audience, I get to put all my friends on, Indecent Podcast. Shout out. Everybody that I've come across, I get to shout out their business. Anybody that's interested, any close friend of mine that are interested in doing anything, I have a platform and a small audience to kind of share whatever they're doing with. And so that's the best part about this. And I didn't realize this just until just very recently. But as we continue to grow our audience, I get to share the people that I love, their passion with my audience. So I think that's a cool thing, and that's something I definitely don't take for granted. So, and seeing you do that too, it's pretty cool. So, question. Thank you, brother-in-law. Oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm not ready for your question, but go ahead. Yeah.
You've had a lot of guests on your podcast. Out of all those guests, were there any discussions or questions where you had to rethink about your values, or you had to rethink about your morals, where you had to question literally your morals and values? Whatever first thing that comes up for you, is there a specific discussion or question that really made you think?
No, I mean I don't think I've had one specific example. I'm pretty confident in how I feel and think. But at the same time, I always stay open enough to just like understand that if somebody challenges my thinking and it makes me think longer than that minute, and if I'm still thinking about it that night, then I know that it's something that I have to revisit myself. I'm never fixed enough to know that, like, first of all, you don't know it all, and you're always constantly learning anyway. So no, I mean, all my conversations that I have with people is always I'm always trying to use what they tell me to challenge my own thinking. I'm always trying to grow. I hope that as I get older, I don't get more fixed into my own thinking, because that's my fear. I think it seems to get harder. I noticed as you get older, you kind of get more comfortable in the way that you think and feel about the world. And so I always I like to keep my mind challenged. But if you know me well enough and you start to notice that my thinking is fixed, which tends to feel like it is most of the time, please make it a hard time for me.
Yeah, I would say as far as like, I don't have a specific guess, but you know, one of the recurring themes we've had on the podcast was like social media interactions or negative interactions with listeners or just like unanimous people online. Like it definitely we've had some crazy comments on some of our stuff, like, and some of the guests that like really gave their time out to come out and do our podcast. So like I feel some kind of way, I feel some responsibility to kind of protect them. And to hear people kind of shit on them is really tough for me. Like it really messed with my head because like for me it was like, do I want to continue doing this? Like this to attract all this like negativity, like that's exhausting. You know, me as an extrovert, I draw my energy from my interactions with people, including my social media interactions with people. And so when I hear like people shit on the guests that I care about or like that have taken their time to come and do our podcast, like it hurts me. And so then like it's made me like it's made me question whether or not I really want to do this or if I want to continue doing this. And it's also made me have thicker skin too. And just, at the end of the day, I have to realize like, hey, we're here serving a greater purpose. And I can't let a negative comment just kind of, just derail that. And so, but that was really tough for me because again, like these were people that, I don't know, gave their time in the day, like, and I have some kind of responsibility to them. And so it's really tough to hear that. And, I've always had this very positive, I've always thought very positively of the Hmong community. And then when I hear the Hmong community like shit on other people, I just kind of go, oh, is this what I thought it was? But again, I've just learned that if your Facebook profile picture is of a anime character or a dog or a fighting chicken, then maybe your comment doesn't matter. So, but like it's, so not any one guest, but everybody else. So, thank you for the question, James. Oh.
We're running out of time, but my name is Vang. I am a podcast owner, and I occasionally teach high schoolers podcasting. And so I always like to ask real podcasters, what are your top 3 tips that you have for someone who wants to start a podcast?
Hey, we're real podcasters.
Yeah.
We made it, baby. We made it. Hey, top 3 tips?
For me, it's really simple. Be authentic. Be yourself. Don't sell something that you're not. Don't be afraid to speak your mind because that's what people want to hear is your mind, not just a dressed up picture of what you are. And that's all I got too.
Yeah, I don't know if I have 3, but truthfully, it's not that hard. Get a mic, and and that's the reality. I think sometimes we create barriers in our own head about like how to create and how to do things. But truthfully, I mean, me and Tu aren't anything special at all. Like we're just two guys with a mic in a room, right, and a camera. So get a mic, get a room, get a camera, and like that's the reality of things. Like sometimes we create barriers in our own head where then it doesn't allow us to do what we want to do. But the truth is, if you want to do it, those are the top top three things. Get a mic,
Yeah.
get a camera, get a room.
I want to know about the startup. Like, how did you, like, what was your process? Because we all know
Yeah.
that, yes, it involves a microphone and all those nice equipment, but what is the startup of it?
I think just finding somebody that you drive with. I think me and Tu were like we didn't know each other too well, and so our first 10 episodes we had to scrap because we were still learning each other's communication styles. So those first 10 episodes we ended up scrapping. So I would say if you want to avoid that, have somebody that you already have some kind of a relationship with, or somebody that you already kind of have, that on some level. Me and Tu, we know each other, but we interacted with each other like before the podcast.
We never talked for 40 hours.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're gonna talk to this person for hours and hours. You realize like I don't even talk to my families that I love this much.
Yeah.
My sister's sitting in the back, and I haven't even had this long of a conversation. We're going on an hour 15, and I don't even remember the last time I've had an hour 15-minute conversation with her. I don't even know the last time I've had an hour 15-minute conversation with my wife. So.
Damn, don't admit that to the world, bro.
But she knows
No.
all of. Go ahead.
I think he's digging a hole. No, I think the biggest thing too is just knowing the why. Like really understanding the why as to why you're doing the podcast. Like what is the why behind your podcast? Doesn't mean that the podcast, not every episode is going to be about that why, but if you have a strong why as to why you're making the podcast, which our why was very simple and it's been the same ever since. It's men's mental health. Like we know that that's a category where we fall under. Has it deviated from that over the time? Yeah, it has, but we know that at the end of the day, if we are lost like in the universe, we know that, hey, we can come back to our original why, which was men's mental health. So we always know the reason behind our conversations. And yeah, they sway and it's like a business, it's fluid, it's got ups, downs, different trajectory that you want to try along the path. But at the end of the day, if you have a strong why, I think, then after you get a room, a microphone, and a good friend,
most important.
Then it's just talking and figuring it out on the fly, like everything, right?
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Hey, out of all your guests, who are your top 3 favorite ones?
Oh man.
You know what? Go ahead, Tu. Go ahead. I gotta use the restroom.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna. There's no number on it. There's no number on any guest. I'm not gonna rank anybody, but chef, babe.
Yeah. I think viewer count. Who's got the most views for us?
Yeah, no. I mean, every guest is a different experience, a different adventure. I don't think. Honestly, like real talk, I don't think you and I really talk ever like that. We're not like, hey, who's your favorite? Yeah. I mean, we can see who brings more views clearly, but but we don't use that as a factor in our judgment of how much we liked you.
No, I would say like. I think we this is corny to say, but we enjoy all of our guests, and we appreciate everyone that took their time to come out, especially like early on, like, I mean, we're still early on, like we're still nobodies, and so that everybody that is willing to come on is huge for us.
Yeah.
But like some of my favorite podcasts too, like if you guys haven't listened to too many of our episodes, like are just like me and two
I think
solo
for-
podcasts.
yeah, well, I
Like,
think
because
for-
like we get to like reflect on the guests that we've had and some of the growth. Like it's cool. Like I think one of the interesting thing about our podcast is you get to see our growth in real time, and we talk about that. We're very vocal about that on the podcast. Like when we had like Sophia on, and then we talked afterwards. We had a conversation with just us two about she says this is how the algorithm works. This is how you work this. And so we essentially applied that. And then with every podcast that we brought on, like we were able to grow or learn something from that, and we were able to apply that to the podcast.
I think that if there is one guest that we've talked about a lot with each other, and we're not ranking anybody as like our favorite guest or whatnot, but Koo is one of the. Koo has a gym called Warman Muay Thai in Maplewood, North St. Paul.
North St. Paul.
And Koo was your cornerman.
Yeah.
Koo was both of our coach at one point.
Yeah.
Koo cornered me when I had my boxing fights, and he cornered you when you had your Muay Thai fights. So for him to us was probably a podcast that we both enjoyed because he's put us in the grinder before. He's seen us at our lows. He has really tested our physical, like and spiritual and everything. And he's also been there with both of us in the corner when we were risking getting knocked out in front of all of our family and friends.
Well, he's seen me get knocked out.
Oh, dang. Okay, I didn't know you got knocked out.
Yeah.
You all right?
Oh, it's pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Most of the people in the audience have also seen me get
Yeah.
knocked out.
So Koo is one that we always go
Yeah.
back to, and that's just because he's at one point was both our coach in a very demanding sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, similar to a point that I hit on earlier, like one of the coolest things about the podcast is that we just get to talk to people that we deem are interesting.
Yeah.
So congratulations to all of our guests. We deem you guys interesting. But like, and then, you know what, if you haven't been a guest yet, hopefully that's something you guys can work towards. But like seriously, on a serious note, like we just, cool, we talked about this on the pod or like on our other podcast where it's like, we haven't, like we both know Koo, we would say we're both close to him, but we haven't had any of these conversations with him. We haven't had an opportunity to sit down and chat with him to have him tell us about his childhood, his upbringing, the challenges he's faced. And so that's one of the best things about the podcast. We get to talk to people that are interesting to us, that we care about. We get to share their story. We get to hear them out. And yeah, sometimes, like I said, you have people in your lives that you love and that you care about, but to be honest, you maybe never had more than like a 15-minute conversation with them. And so like this podcast allows us to do that. And so we're so grateful for
I'm starting to
for that
think, is there
opportunity.
something wrong with us that we can't have a one-on-one conversation with people that we
I
love and we need a podcast
I don't know.
to
Do you
that?
guys have hour-long conversations with your friends? Oh,
All right, so we're just
damn.
now we know.
Shit. Okay.
Now we know
Oh,
time
shit.
time
Okay,
to call
okay.
the therapist
All
back.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add that to my list. Talk to my
Yeah.
therapist.
Yeah.
Well, we'll bring you guys on.
Yeah. If there's-
Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's we're going on an hour and 20 minutes. We're using Chef Ya's space, so we're gonna keep this
Yeah.
short and just probably end it here. But
Yeah.
we just want to thank Chef Ya first of all for allowing us to be here in this space. All of our guests who have come here, all of you who taken the time to come out here, our photographer, videographer who came here and are gonna get this content out. If you guys can, if you share any of the pictures that you're in, just tag, the restaurant here, tag whoever you want, tag yourself, but just put it in the atmosphere that we all came together tonight to just just kick it, really.
Yeah. And thank you for real, because it's so crazy. Like, just seeing everybody walk in, most of you guys, I've known you guys at some point. I've interacted with you guys at some point, and to have you guys come back and support us. A lot of you guys have supported me from the get-go, from like day one, and so I'm just so appreciative of all you guys. And so hopefully this is the last startup that I put you guys through.
Yeah.
But
All
no
right.
promises.
got
Thank you.
nothing left.